Good morning, members. Welcome to the June 18th, 2026 regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the Agribusiness Development Corporation. I am a chair, Jason Watts. Prior to calling the meeting to order, I'm sorry, it says Alston, but is that going to be you or Ken?
It'll be me. It'll be me.
Okay. Ken Nakamoto will explain how the public can participate in this hybrid meeting, which can be accessed by video conference, telephone, or in person. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Yeah, sorry. For those of you joining online, your microphones will automatically be muted. When the chairperson asks for public testimony, you may click the raise hand button found on your Zoom screen to indicate that you wish to testify about that agenda item. The chairperson will individually enable each testifier to unmute their microphone. When recognized by the chairperson, please unmute your microphone before speaking and mute your microphone after you have finished speaking. For those of you joining by phone, when the chairperson asks for public testimony, you may indicate you want to testify by entering star and then 9. A voice prompt will let you know that the host of the meeting has been notified. When recognized by the chairperson, you may unmute yourself by pressing star and then 6 on your phone. A voice prompt will let you know that you're unmuted. Once you have finished speaking, please enter star and then 6 again to mute yourself. For both internet and phone, as well as in-person access, when testifying, you'll be asked to identify yourself and organization, if any, that you represent. Each testifier will be limited to 2 minutes of testimony per agenda item.
Thank you, Ken. Just a reminder, testifiers are requested that there is a 2-minute time limit of testimony per agenda item. Moving on to A. This meeting is called to order at 9:03 a.m. I will now take a roll call of the board members who are present. When your name is called, please verbally acknowledge your presence and state who, if anyone, is over the age of 18, is present in the room with you. This also serves as a roll call vote. For each subsequent vote, I will ask if there are any objections or abstentions. If there are none, then the motion will be approved on the same basis as this initial roll call. Board member Jesse Cook.
Present and alone.
Thank you. Board member David Hinazumi.
Present and alone.
Thank you. Board member Glenn Hong.
Where other members are here.
You have to say it again. We just unmuted.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm present here in the media room with executive director and other outside members.
Thank you. Board member Chair Sharon Hurd.
Present and alone.
Thank you. Board member Deputy Director Kahahane.
Present and alone.
Board member Dino Kimoto.
Present and alone.
Vice Chair Jason Okohama.
Present and alone.
Board member Karen Seddon.
Present and alone.
Board member Nathan Trump.
Yeah, they're in there.
Oh, I saw him. Oh, board member Trump.
And I think someone else.
Wait,
Saw him. Oh, yeah, he's there. Oh,
we
Nick,
can't hear him though. No, his mic might not be syncing.
Yeah. We can see you, Nick. Okay. Yeah, one more.
Board member Jason Watts, present and alone. Board member Parker Wicker.
Oh, Trump, Nathan.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, can hear you now. Yes.
Loud and clear.
Apologies, I'm present and alone.
Thank you. Board member Watts is present and alone. Board member Deputy Director Wicker.
Present, alone.
Thank you, board members. Moving on to section B, there's a request for approval. The special meeting minutes, regular session, September 25th, 2026. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Thank you, Deputy Director Wicker. Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, thank you, board member Trump. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to give testimony?
No hands raised, Chair.
Thank you very much. Is there any board discussion? Seeing none, are there any objections, recusals, or abstentions? Measure is adopted. Moving on to agenda item B2 is a request for approval of the regular meeting minutes, regular session, October 16th, 2025. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Thank you, Deputy Director Wicker.
Second.
Board Member Trump, thank you. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to give testimony?
No hands raised.
Thank you very much. Is there any board discussion? Seeing none, are there any objections, recusals, or abstentions? Measure is adopted. Thank you, board members. Moving on to chair's report, there is none. Moving on to section D, which is a committee and permanent interaction group reports. There's an agenda item D1. Chair David Hinazumi, Administration Committee update regarding fiscal year 2028 budget priorities to be submitted to and for consideration by the board of directors. Is there an update, Chair Hinazumi?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just very brief. Staff's been working very hard to put the budget package together. We've had a couple of meetings now in front of the admin committee, and we've got one more meeting coming up next Friday, the 26th, to finalize a package that can be presented to the full board. So for our board, just a heads up that once it comes in front of us, we will need to move expeditiously to review and get it approved. We have a targeted deadline of getting this thing approved by the full board by the end of July. Thank you.
Just one question, Chair Hinazumi. The July deadline, that's the DBED deadline as well, or?
Yes.
Chair Hinazumi, this is Dean Okimoro. Question. Where do we stand? You know, we've given out licenses to these Thai farmers and things, but where does the irrigation issue with them stand? Do you guys have any idea of like what's being done to get these people? I mean, it's okay to get them on the land, but if they don't have water, they cannot use the land. So, you know, we're not only losing income from the lease rent, but also the production for these guys. You know, I don't want them getting to the point where they don't have income and they cannot survive just because they don't have water. So I just wanted to know where we stand with that issue, especially at Whitmore.
Yep. Good question. So I know the last time this came up in front of the full board, right? I think it was about a 2-year estimate, and that we would need to defer to staff to give us an update on that.
You know, one thing we should look at is possibly, I mean, 2 years is a long time. These guys are already off their land, a lot of these guys. So is there a way that we can look at possibly getting some kind of irrigation into them, maybe by doing a sediment tank, pond, and you know, using something temporary like that, because we do have staff that probably has expertise with that. Guys like Dale on Kauai.
Perhaps
Chair.
Chair Hinazumi.
Yep,
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, Deputy.
No, sorry. Just if this is an information item or if it is tied to the budget, if I can share more information, I can.
Correct. It is tied to the budget. I think what he's requesting is where in the budget we're gonna handle this.
I think a suggestion would maybe be for future agenda item 2. What is the irrigation strategy for the portfolios that we have, maybe Kauai as well as Oahu? I know, and Mark, you can add to this. Getting irrigation to that area will cost money because we do need to put in the infrastructure. I don't think we have a plan in place yet. I think that needs to be discussed and something presented to the board. I believe we do currently have a 1-point source, could be the recent acquisition of the Dole wells. And then maybe an update on the Halemano irrigation system, which was funded last session, and what we're doing with that. Both of these could provide that irrigation relief to that area. So I just want to add that as comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Director.
You're welcome, Dean.
Mark, you had something too you want to add?
Yeah. And to stay on topic, just reiterating what Deputy Wicker said, and the farmers there are currently working with the to get their conservation plan right, so that they can put those basins in, because without the conservation plan you can't do that. So to further that, they are working on it. So just so you know that it is moving forward.
Thanks, Mark.
I think, Dean, I just wanted to add too, I think the part of the concern might also be that what these farmers' involvement in the whole farm to school program is, and even with food security, without water, you can't even get to that planning level too, right? So I think it's important for us to kind of figure out, I mean, I know it's a 2-year lease suspension, but we should still try to figure out if we can get this done earlier than later, to get them more involved. So, Mark, I don't know if maybe the next board meeting you guys can put something together to present. Maybe Dale can be a part of that. I don't know if that's possible.
Yes, we'll do that.
Cool. Thank you. Any other board discussion? All right. This doesn't require action or a vote. So moving on to agenda item E1, which is a request to approve the final terms and authorize the execution of that certain Waiho irrigation system transfer agreement previously approved by the board of directors on April 15th, 2026, including the corporate authorization to purchase and to acquire a portion of the Waiho irrigation system owned by Dole Food Company Incorporated and Wahiawa Water Company Incorporated, situated in central Oahu, Sian County, Honolulu, state of Hawaii, including tax map key numbers 17-3-005 005, 17-3-013 003, and 17-3-012 002, and various easements. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Thank you very much, Deputy Connie. Is there a second? Thank you, Chair Hurd. Is there a staff presentation?
Yes.
Well, here, Mark, let's go.
Okay, yes. Okay, just to give everyone some background, and everyone is aware of this project, Act 218 provides the authorization and appropriation to the Hawaii Department of Land and Natural Resources, Hawaii Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity, and the Agribusiness Development Corporation for the acquisition and rehabilitation of the dam and spillway. ADC's board of directors authorized the executive director to execute the Wahiawa irrigation system transfer agreement with Dole Food Company and Wahiawa Water Company at the April 15th, 2026 meeting, and the agreement was executed thereafter. Right, it's actually in process now, I believe. ADC has conducted due diligence and the property and presented their findings at the special board meeting held on May 29th. As you're all aware, we are continuing that work, and we're continuing to work at that with respect to the easements. We're probably about 75% there that we're very comfortable with, and we're continuing to work with Dole on the remaining portions. The due diligence is complete, and the recommendation right now is to proceed with completing the acquisition as is. I believe also the agreement was sent out to all the board members and the public just prior to this meeting. So I know it was being worked on very diligently by all the parties up to now, and it's ready at this point. So the recommendation is to proceed with the acquisitions, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Mark. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to give testimony?
No hands raised, Chair.
Thank you. Is there any board discussion?
Yes, Chair, I got
Board Member Hinazumi.
Okay. For for one, this came in front of the board, late in the process. So to the extent we can, all of these things should come to us much sooner to have more discussion and input as far as whatever negotiation occurs. But the more pressing one right now is if this is, this was brought up before, and it was touched on in the report as far as being able to take over operations come July 1st. Do we have an update on that, right? One possibility discussed was, retaining or extending the existing contractors in place that manage the system, manage the
Yes.
irrigation system.
Yes. So, is that what?
Yes.
Are you
Where
sorry? Okay,
are we
didn't
at
mean
on
to
that?
it. So right now, I don't exactly have the dates, but it was we went to the state procurement officer to make a recommendation on the correct process to proceed on this. And so we're in process now to complete a procurement for short term to make sure that the operations are seamless, so they will continue that way. And then and concurrently, we're also in the process of going through regular procurement to put this out for bid. And so we should have that, so the operations continue without any gap, any break in the management.
Okay. Thanks, Mark.
Okay.
Thank you, Board Member Hinazumi. Thank you, Mark. Any further board discussion? If not, go ahead.
Chair Watts,
Yes.
Board Member Hong had his hand up.
Sure. Yes. Proceed, please.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
This action item 1 is for the transfer of the irrigation system or a portion of the irrigation system. And I kind of look at the whole transaction as the entire system, including the dam spillway and everything else. What is the status of the transfer of the dam? Is that going to be directly to ADC, or is it going to be to the Department of Ag and Biosecurity? And my understanding is that all of this has to occur by the end of the fiscal year, by the end of June 30, or effective July 1. Can I get a status on that? And when are we going to talk about that other piece of it beyond the irrigation system?
So to answer, Chair Watts, can I address the question, or would you prefer that Mark address the question?
Yeah, well, go ahead, Wendy, and Mark can follow up.
So in terms of, you had raised some good questions at the April 30th meeting in regards to the liability. We do have Joel available to answer those concerns. The dam and reservoir would be under the ownership of the ADC and not under Department of Ag and Biosecurity. And yes, the date for the transfer would be effective July 1st.
Okay, and so what is the status? Does the ADC have to approve, and that was my understanding, the transfer of the dam property, which is not what the action item number 1 is. Action item number 1 is only for the irrigation system, or portions thereof.
There's a portion of the dam and reservoir that's set on the land that Joel owns. There's a portion that sets on the land that Sustainable Hawaii owned, which was purchased by ADC already.
Okay, so that's completed.
The Sustainable Hawaii, yes.
Okay, but not the dam, the Dole portion of the dam.
There's a little portion for the Dole, and Dole actually owns the land that the operating system, the pump house, sits on. So it's kind of a critical component.
Yeah, I guess if you'll bear with me, I'd like to just ask a number of questions just to sort of explore what the entire transaction is going to do, and how we got to the point where we are. And I appreciate Dole bringing representatives here to address the issue that I did raise. I didn't expect an answer at the time, but I didn't expect an answer before all of this is completed. And so we're at 11th hour in, but I appreciate that. A lot of my comments are not necessarily against Dole. A lot of the issue I have is how the state in particular went about this whole transaction. How long it's taken, and how the fact that ADC is now going to be acquiring these systems. And my understanding is that ADC didn't have a negotiating, didn't have a seat at the table in the negotiations for the acquisition of this. And, you know, I think Dole did what they had to do from a corporate standpoint. I understand that perspective, and you know, that's being a good corporate citizen. I think the state may not have fulfilled all the types of obligations that it has to its taxpayers in this situation. I think the overall transaction, the irrigation system, the dam acquisition, and all that makes a lot of sense for both Dole and the state and citizens of the state. But I think there's some stuff left on the table. That's why I asked the question about liability. What would, from a financial standpoint, in terms of, I understand Dole is a private company and they don't publish necessarily 10K, 10Q type of statements out there. But my perspective is that there's a lot of potential liability out there that the state didn't take into account as they looked at this particular transaction. Now, it's kind of an 11th hour, water under the bridge, I guess, over the dam, pun intended. But I think ultimately it's going to be a good thing for the state at a very high cost. And my concern kind of stemmed from my perspective of the financial statements of the potential liability of a dam failure far outweighed the totality of the assets of Dole Hawaii, potentially even Dole itself to a certain extent, although I understand that there is a corporate protection on that. So Dole was doing what it had to do to protect its assets. And I'm concerned that we now have the state, through ADC, receiving resources that ultimately can be made very beneficial for the state, but at very high cost. And I don't know that we have established what that cost benefit is. I don't know if we actually have a good lead in terms of how much the bringing up to standards of the Dole, of the dam, the spillway, and everything else is going to cost. There are numbers that are thrown around that are just kind of all over the map. And I think that's a problem from a state standpoint. You know, we talked in I guess it was the April meeting. I can't remember how many meetings ago it was because we keep having meetings last minute. But one of the concerns I have is that there are a lot of things that could have been done by the state, the various boards in terms of lowering the level of the dam early on. I'm not putting all the blame on Dole because Dole probably could have done that if they got approval for that. But there needs to be a lot of foresight on the state and the city to look at how do we manage these resources, whether it's in Dole's hands or whether it's in ADC's hands or anything else, so that as these events occur, we can lower the dam significantly prior to what we know is going to continue to happen, and that's huge amounts of rainfall coming down, and lower the dam so that we can, during the event, minimize the amount of discharge into the stream, which, you know, the stream itself comes down from Mount Ka'ala, comes from all the other areas surrounding it, not just from the dam. But if we can increase the capacity of the dam ahead of time, we can prevent the type of serious issues that we saw as a result of the Kona load. And we're lucky, state, the city, the counties, all the agencies, the Dole, all the landowners, that the disaster was not worse. Okay. In spite of all the public statements about the dam is safe and everything else, you can't say that 100% because there's got to be huge liability on that in any potential breach. So we're way far down the road on this right now. I'm not going to say that this particular transaction should not go forward, but I'd like to understand, and then maybe this is the after action type of conversation. How do we get to where we are with all the potential liabilities that we have? I asked Dan Nellis a question about the siphon, can that be increased? And that's something that I think we should look at going forward. Let's increase the size of the box culvert down at the bottom so we can increase the amount of flow into the stream before these events occur. So that we can increase the capacity, holding capacity of the dam prior to these heavy rains coming. So it's kind of like a strategic discussion here. But I think we as ADC, taking responsibility for not only the irrigation system, but the dam itself, really need to pay attention to these things, because if a disaster happens, our water qualities are all on the line for this. But the victims are going to lose their lives. And many of them have already lost their livelihoods. And we can't condone that. I'd like to ask Dole, if you're ready then, to talk about the answer to my question on the liability, if that's okay.
Yeah, no,
Sure.
I'm happy to address that. Jared Gale, for anybody that can't see me on the line, General Counsel for Dole Food Company. But now correct me if I'm wrong, I want to make sure that I answer the question that you're asking. But as far as liability goes, we have had lots of discussions with the state and the attorney generals with regard to what's in the agreement. And this agreement is more robust than normal land transfer agreements that we've entered into in the past with ADC. In this agreement, Dole has agreed to retain any and all liability related to the storms that happened earlier this year that may arise in the future, even if somebody brings a lawsuit or something like that from something that happened over the past couple months. That would be on Dole's responsibility to handle that liability. So it's that liability piece of it has been addressed in the agreements, and we've agreed to accept that. As far as future liability if the dam breaches or something like that, that's the kind of thing that anytime anyone owns any asset, there's potential liability involved in, right? Like we're all on this state building. If there's an earthquake and it falls and kills us all, then our families are going to sue the state, and the state's going to be liable for it, potentially. But so ongoing liability, I think that's being addressed by the process that ADC and others have gone through to make sure that the dam is rehabilitated. And I know work is even ongoing right now, I think, right, Wendy? So let me stop there and see if that answered your question, or if there's something else that...
Yeah, no, I appreciate all that, but it doesn't answer my question. My question is on a financial statement, looking at it from a CPA account company, CPA stamping the financial statements. You have financial notes. You have notes to the financial statement that talk about potential liabilities. Right. And the question is, should there be a downgrade? Because what's happened is that over the years, this has been going back and forth, 10, 15 years ago, whatever, the state was kind of looking at acquiring these assets. And while from an operation standpoint, Dole did what it could based on its budget and everything else, there wasn't a lot of money spent on actually improving the assets to reduce the liability that is there in the event of a dam breach, particularly in light of the fact that climate change is showing that heavy weather events are going to be magnified, intensified, and the amount of rain and the amount of water capacity coming Mauka to Mackay is going to only increase. And so from a strategic standpoint, not an operation standpoint, strategic standpoint, the question is how much money do you put into it to mitigate that liability? So it's a financial question, that I understand the legal discussion here, but CPAs are really required to look at potential liabilities and opine on, do we think it's going to be substantial? It could be. Now, they can't predict what's going to happen necessarily, but they can see that there are liabilities out there that investors, and in this case of Dole, you might have financials that you put into submissions for loans from banks or other equity providers that give them an indication of how much liability do I have in lending this amount of money to Dole or any other company that is a private company. And that's the question.
Okay, I think I understand it better now. Thank you. So we are a public company. Since 2001, we've been a public company. We've been filing quarterly and annual statements. They're all available online.
Okay.
You can see them and pour through them.
My bad on that one.
We have not, our KPMG is our public accounting firm that we hire to do our audit, our external independent audit. There has not been any liability associated with this system on our books as far as, do we think there's under accounting rules, right? You have to reach specific levels of potential liability to be required to book something. We haven't reached that level. Our auditors are comfortable we haven't reached that level. So we have not booked a liability related to a potential dam failure. We do not believe that the dam is in any sense imminently going to fail, such that we need to be able to book something. So that's the accounting response. But I think as far as the history of Dole investing in the system, we have invested in the system. We just quickly on that, because it's important, I think, that the record's clear. When the state, I can't remember exactly what year it was, but when the state changed the possible maximum flow levels for dams in the state to from one level to a much higher level, at that point we engaged with the state, we engaged with third parties to begin the process for the upgrade, right? And we spent multiple millions of dollars over the years in that process. We got to the point in late 2022, early 2023, where we made the decision, look, seeing how this is developing, it doesn't make sense for us to continue to have this dam in place if we're going to have to, now that we have the numbers coming in as what it's going to cost to meet these new requirements. It doesn't make sense for us to run this business just to support this dam if we're going to be losing, tens of millions of dollars every year to do this. And so the option was presented to the state, essentially. We can take it down or we can give it to you, right? And the taking it down was negative for us because we'd lose our operations on Hawaii, which we want to continue. Negative for the state because there's no farming in the North Shore if the dam's gone, right? And so the state was interested in taking it over. So at that point, we stopped the work, working with dam safety and with the DNR. We stopped the work in as far as the upgrades go, because the state was going to take it over. Now that was 2023. Here we are 3 years later, ready to finalize the deal. We have not spent money on upgrades over the last 3 years because we had an agreement, the Act 2218, to transfer the dam, right? And so we were ready within a couple of months to transfer it, but of course the state has its procedures and its processes, and ended up taking 3 years. But we are where we are, and the state now has the money appropriated to do the upgrades that are necessary. The upgrades have begun, and I people that know more about it can talk about how long that's going to take. But the state will own it, the state will upgrade it, and then it will meet all the requirements that were increased a few years ago. Pause there again. I don't know if I did better this time.
No, I appreciate that. What I didn't do is then I didn't search for Dole's 10K.
Yeah.
Because I maybe is that assumption that I assume that you're still private. Dole. And Dole Hawaii is a subsidiary of Dole Inc. I understand. I was really concerned about the fact that there could be potential liability much greater. I understand what Dole did. I absolutely understand and why he did that. A lot of my comment is that I think the state has done a poor job, particularly in terms of saying, okay, we'll take over the dam now, because, you know, instead of really sitting down and say, what exactly is it going to cost us? And are there other things that we could work with Dole on in terms of whether it's acquiring more of the farmlands that were available that were not being used by Dole, and maybe add to the acreage that ADC could then itself make available to farming on. So it's just a negotiation thing, is what I'm talking about. I mean, it kind of comes down to that, and it's a great deal for Dole. Is it a good deal for the state? That's where my question is. I think we're at the point where we're going to have to spend a lot of money to make it a good deal for the state. It's going to be a huge amount of upgrades that's going to occur, and ongoing maintenance for the system. And the system is probably not as functional as it has been in the past. Anyway, I'm sorry for that very huge digression. I appreciate Dole being here to respond to that. And I think I've said most of my piece on that, Chair.
Thank you, Board Member Hong. I you know, truthfully, I don't think you're the only board member who feels that way. I think to Board Member Hanazumi's point earlier, you know, the staff has been made aware of certain board members' disappointment that one is taking 3 years to get here, and then secondly, the transparency with which this was done, you know, could have been more transparent with the board, who ultimately has to sign off on this stuff. You know, to your concerns about emergency response and all that, you know, that's why there was a lot of pressure put on maintaining Dole's current contracts, at least in the interim, while we move to ADC's more long-term ownership, and we can negotiate our own contracts, but to ensure there's no gap there. Because one thing I've made very clear to Wendy too is, you know, Dole as a private company, you know, what triggers their response is very different than what triggers the state's response. And the taxpayer and its relationship with the legislature, very little pain threshold there. And so, you know, the kinds of inquiries and the kinds of concerns you get from a government agency are very different than what a private company would experience. And then of course, our ability to respond to emergencies when we are largely appropriations driven, right? It takes a year to get those kinds of funds. And so ensuring that those current contracts remain in place while we work some of this stuff out is critical. But we were going to have one more board meeting in June just to make sure we wrap everything up cleanly. But I appreciate your questions, Board Member Hong. I know you're not the only one. Is there any other board members who have questions? I see a hand up. Board Member Cook?
Hi, have we ever received an estimate about, let's say the state doesn't purchase the dam, how much it would cost for Dole to shut it down?
That I do not know. Wendy, do you have a quick answer for that?
Dole is in the room and is available to answer that, Chair Watts.
Yeah, we have taken a few steps towards the decommissioning route. When there was some early on, there was some uncertainty about whether the transfer would actually go through, you know, before Act 218 was passed and whatnot. So we never got any official bids on how much it would cost, but we do know that it would cost multiples less than it would to upgrade it, which is why we were heading down that path, absent the state stepping in to save the asset. But I don't have a number for you.
Okay, I would think that's a pretty important number, especially if we're in negotiations to find that out. Maybe ADC staff can look into that or get a rough estimate. Thank you.
We can do that, Board Member Cook.
You know, board members, I'll also, you know, I share your concerns, and Kelsey's on here, and you know, Dole's flew in for this, and I've expressed those concerns to Kehao very, very much, and you know, she's reassured me, and it's been tough. I mean, it is a lot to digest, and it is a huge responsibility. You know, but to that point too, I think, you know, one of the things we talked about earlier is the proper word use and definitions, and I do think what we see portrayed in the media with regard to this system is sometimes a lot more exaggerated than it truly is. And you know, proper term use is critical. And when people talk about critical failure, you know, I have some concerns with that, because I think that more addresses the fact that there's human beings who live beyond the system rather than what the health of the system actually is. And so, I've struggled with hearing the media talk about this too. But I will reassure you that we've been reassured. The governor's office, Chair De La Cruz, House Finance, they've all been working very hard to ensure ADC and HDAB and DLNR have all the funds required to be able to respond to any kind of disaster, and to make sure that the upgrades are reflective of what needs to be done. So I will offer that comment as well. Any other board member discussion? If not, members, are there any objections, recusals, or abstentions? Thank you. The measure is adopted.
Would it be okay to take a short recess at this?
No, Wendy, we got to keep going because we have board members that got to jump off. But feel free to leave and go and sign whatever you guys have to sign. That's totally fine.
Wow.
Members, moving on to agenda item E2 is a request to approve the final terms and authorize the execution of that certain purchase and sale agreement between Agribusiness Development Corporation and Yi Sun Chiu Trust and 656 Kilani LLC for approximately 1.5 gross acres, more or less, of land situated at Wahiawa, District of Wahiawa, City and County of Honolulu, State of Hawaii, tax map key numbers 47-4 005 032 018. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second. Yes.
Director Wicker, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Board Member Cook. Is there a presentation?
Good morning, Chair, members of the board and the public. Just briefly, this item requests approval for final terms of the purchase and sale agreement for the Kalani Ave properties that ADC is seeking to acquire. Final draft, as negotiated between ADC and the seller, was transmitted to you for your review last Monday or Tuesday, I think, and I guess we're seeking approval. At the last board meeting, members had, I think, Board Member Hong had questions about what pre-diligence work had been completed. So there is additional documentation included in the package for members to review.
No, thank you, Lau, for including all the updated stuff. That was helpful. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to give testimony?
Seeing no hands raised, Chair.
Is there any board discussion? And Board Member Hong still. Oh, sorry, Vice Chair Yokohama, go ahead.
I just had a question for staff. I went through the old environmental report, and I'm just curious, and you guys are going to order a new one. It was recommended no further action in the report. However, it did state that any disturbance of the soils on the property, they recommend a subsurface investigation be conducted. So, because from what I've seen in the documents we got on possible improvements on the property, which requires soil disturbance, especially you're going to do buildings on there. And because we're talking about a dry cleaner, automotive repair shop, automotive wrecking yard, etc., are we going to go ahead and do subsurface work on the property? It's not that you want to stop the purchase, but at least you know what you're dealing with going in. If we acquire the property, at least you know, okay, we got these things to deal with based on the report that we have, versus don't do it, and then you find out later on the degree of the contamination under there, and then you find out what the cost is going to be to cure. So that was just really my question on that.
Thanks, Board Member Yokohama, for the question. I guess I would just note that that's kind of the point of the phase one that we're doing. right now. So we just gave them the go ahead to begin work. So they'll be conducting an updated phase one environmental site assessment of the property, and depending on what they find, if there are significant recognized environmental conditions that the contractor identifies, that may very well require phase two. Phase two environmental site assessment would be exactly what you're talking about, going in to take soil samples and see exactly what's there. But that's based on whether or not there are recommendations, recs that are included in as part of the phase one ESA.
But that is assuming that we're going to be doing soil disturbance, because from what I've seen in the plan of the property, it talks about building out on the adjoining lot that we're acquiring and doing soil disturbance. So I just want to make sure that, you know, you would say, well, we're not doing any disturbance now, so we're not going to do a subsurface investigation or a phase two. But I just want to make sure that based on the proposal we're looking at on the build out, that is going to have soil disturbance.
Yeah, I would just for purposes of this action, I would note the distinction between what we're asking for here and any future project. Any future project is aspirational. It's just in a possibility phase, and that would almost certainly require Chapter 343 environmental assessment, which is that environmental assessment is separate and distinct from the environmental site assessment that we're conducting now. So that project, if it were ever to get funded, or when it's funded and that project begins, would almost certainly be subject to other environmental research and study. But for purposes here, this is just for acquisition. We want to know what we're dealing with prior to approving acquisition of the property.
Board Member Hinazumi.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I had the.
Just wait. Can you raise a hand? Oh. Wait. Wait.
Yeah, go ahead, Board Member Hinazumi.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. I had the exact same question and concern as Member Oklahoma. So I just had a few follow-ups. Then, Lyle, how long before we get the I don't know if you consider this a new phase one?
It's a new phase one, yeah.
Yeah. So
we should have it
soon
in.
can we
They've
get
begun
that?
work. Well, we gave them the go ahead. They should be starting. I think they're going to be on site on July 1st. I just saw the scheduling arrangement this morning. Should be on site July 1st, and I would expect we would have something within a couple months.
Okay. And then, leads to a few other questions as far as, I understand urgency on all of our projects to move forward quickly, but do we have any concerns with lapsing of appropriation on this?
Not at the moment. These funds, I think, are slated to lapse June 30th, 2028. I would have to double check. Let me double check that. Don't actually quote me on that.
No sweat, Lau. Thanks. And then as far as the the appropriation itself, just making sure that appropriation is sufficient to cover purchase price, as well as, these potential liabilities. And, Member Hong, just, talked, quite a bit about, these concerns we should always be considering. I assume the purchase price right now is based on appraisal. Is that?
Yes.
Okay. But then it is just based on appraisal without taking into account these potential liabilities.
I'm not sure what liabilities you're talking about.
Well, as far
purchase.
as far as what the phase one might show, right? If we need to go subsurface, and if we need to do any mitigation before we can proceed, it could be as simple as just capping capping the ground or whatever. I mean, worst case scenario, we got to remove a bunch of contaminated soil and this underground storage tank. We should be having those things in consideration and possibly could play into the purchase price. But we just need to know, and then ultimately making sure we've got enough appropriation, to cover the purchase and then also move forward. We've got concerns of overruns, in other things that we've been doing. And then, of course, if we got to go back, get more appropriation to do any kind of, mitigation before we can proceed in the project. Okay, so just all things to consider.
Okay. I guess to address that, I would note that the appraisal is really the upper line. That's what we're paying. That's what's been agreed to with the seller. They conducted a follow-up. It came back substantially the same as well, within 10%, a 10% difference. So what we're asking for here is the authority to execute the purchase and sale agreement, and the execution of that purchase and sale agreement allows more of our due diligence to go forward. So depending on what we find in the phase one, there could potentially be a phase two. We'll also be conducting a boundary survey of the property, encroachment review, all the typical sorts of things that we do as part of our due diligence of the property, and then a report will be made to the board. And at that time, the board will have the opportunity to consider, the due diligence and whether or not it's appropriate to move forward. It could involve, negotiating a price reduction depending on what liabilities we find. That might be a direction that the board wants to go. But at this point, we won't know. I would also note that there is sufficient appropriation to cover the purchase, the appraised value of the property.
Okay, thanks
and
a lot.
That's really the upper limit. So anything less than that would certainly be covered.
So wait, I got it.
Yeah,
Chair?
Yes.
Chair, I'm sorry. We are being kicked out of this room, and so we have to move over to the next building and I guess sign in again. So we're going to be gone for at least 5, maybe 8 or 10 minutes till we can set that back up. And I'm sorry I missed some of the earlier conversation, but relative to this, Keelani, the quick question: what is the appraised value versus the purchase price right now?
I honestly, I struggle to recall that.
Is one higher than?
It's in the. So I sent the board. I sent everybody the purchase.
I'm sorry, I don't have it with me because I came here and I left my house. I don't have my documents with me. So.
Well, let me scroll and find it.
Lyle, I can answer. I mean,
okay.
Just letting everyone know that the purchase price is the appraised value. And what Lyle is saying is in regard to chapter 131, no, 171, which is, the state cannot pay more than the appraised value of the land. So, right, what he's saying is that the purchase price is exactly the appraised value. So it will not go up.
Okay, so we are, so we're tied to the appraised value when we purchase it. Thank you. Anyway, we're getting kicked out of this room now, so.
Okay. Sorry, multiple hands up. Board Member Trump.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the questions from Jason and David. I guess the only other kind of question I have is why are we looking at commercial property kind of in a more urban setting as opposed to looking for agricultural infrastructure in a more like rural area that might have, the $4.6 million is quite a bit. And I'm just wondering, at what stage of the discussion does the board get involved in kind of identifying which piece of land that we're considering to purchase?
Okay, so this particular purchase of the use of this property could go in different directions. The intended use is as as an egg cracking facility, but that's preliminary. That's a preliminary, and that's a intended use of the property. This wasn't, I think staff looked at some properties in the area, but that this property was included, the acquisition of this property was included in the budget. So to a certain extent, it's a priority of the state to acquire this property. The budget is a statement of priority from the state government. So we're going through this. We're going through our due diligence to take a look at the property to see if it fits with its intended use. If it doesn't fit, there are other uses we could potentially put it to, or possibly trade it, swap it in a land swap for other properties that would be more beneficial to us. I guess that's the best I can do to
I think
answer that
it's
question.
more of a broad question around budgeting, and I guess the project seems really good to me. And then as soon as I saw the 4.6 million for 1.5 acres, the Big Island guy in me is thinking, oh wow, like that's quite a bit for kind of a small area. And then just looking into it, it's like, you're looking at a commercial property and it's valued at that much, but is that really match the value of how ADC could utilize it? And so I think that comes to the broader point. Probably Dane or Jason can chime in around budgeting and prioritization, and do we kind of just respond to the legislation, or the legislature's directive, or do we try to kind of get involved earlier on something like this? Not saying it's a bad project, just the sticker shock got to me a little bit.
Board Member Wicker, I see your hand up.
I think Board Member Oklahoma was ahead of me, or I can.
Sorry, yep. Go. Well, I just because you're going to answer, I think you can answer
Sure.
Board Member Trump's question.
Okay. Yeah. I'll try to see if I can answer many of his points. This was legislatively directed. Similarly, we have legislative direction on acquiring land on Kauai, and in this past session, several legislative directives to acquire land on Big Island. So we follow the intent of the legislation. Oahu land is definitely much more expensive than Neighbor Island. We did look at ADC's portfolio on Oahu. We don't have we've maximized the space actually in Whitmore where this type of facility could have gone. Other lands are suitable for farming or lack the infrastructure. We actually don't have rural zoning on Oahu, whereas the Neighbor Islands do. So it is a commercial facility. It is between prior egg laying operation and nearby another egg laying 5 minutes away. Proactively, though, I think to Board Member Trump's point, if we could get ahead of what the strategic plan is, what the needs are of the agricultural, both on the farmer and rancher side of what their needs are, then we can present plans to the legislature for land acquisitions or where we think it may make more budget friendly decisions for infrastructure and facilities that follow our statute.
Yeah, thanks, Dane. That answers my questions.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Board Member Oklahoma.
Thank you. You brought up a good point, Nathan, about alternative properties, because you're buying a property at 4.8 plus you got to build. So it's not just buying the land, but you're actually building a new facility on top of that, which might cost, I don't know how many millions of dollars. And then if we have environmental concerns, if there has to be remediation on the property, you don't know how much that more is going to cost you. So it could be very substantial investment for the egg cracking facility, and we don't even know how it pencils out from a financial basis too. I mean, we don't even know based on production numbers, what is required based on the numbers that was just given to us in the report of how many eggs per week, per day, per week. You don't even know the financial part of it and whether it really even pencils out from an operational financial standpoint. So there's a lot of investment on a property like this that, may have issues. Actually, what I was going to bring up too is just, are we doing a boundary survey or are we doing an ALTA survey? I'm more concerned about the property that has the building on right now, not the land portion, because that's just land, but the possibility of encroachment on old buildings like this is pretty significant. And when you have encroachment, it's maybe not, we might not care about it, but ultimately it's an investment on real estate. And if we're encroaching on the other guy's property, then we have a problem with our investment in this property. So it was just, I just had that question about the survey.
No, thanks, Vice Chair. For the survey, it is just a boundary survey and an encroachment review. We're not doing an ALTA.
Board Member O'Connor, does that answer your questions?
Yes.
Okay,
Thank
thanks.
you.
I'll just also add to Board Member Trump's comments. Some of these legislative-driven projects that was addressed in the previous audit of ADC. There was some concern that the board wasn't active enough in providing strategic direction. And so, we've tried to be more active and proactive, especially through producing a document like the strategic plan. So getting the staff to, I think, represent that plan to the legislature I think it's on the agenda today to approve the PIG report is going to be critical, right? So that we can kind of get synced up with legislators and get projects that are kind of co-driven, but meet requirements that the board has been actively engaged with. So it's not just kind of one or the other. So we are trying to address that. It was an audit concern. We're trying to get there. So I appreciate your questions, Nathan, about where kind of sweet spot is with the board's actual involvement and approval on these projects. But any further board discussion? If not, members, are there any objections, recusals, or I'm sorry, Board Member Hong's not here.
Sorry, Chair. He's here physically, but we cannot get his camera to turn on. Yeah, so we're working through that right now. But he's here. Chair, Glenn, they're about to vote. So you wanna? There's no one here. Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry, just go ahead. Still setting that up. Hey, Chair, is it okay if he comes sit next to me for the vote, just for the vote?
I think that the law requires his to be a camera on and all that.
Okay. Like if I turn on my camera and he yeah. Okay. Hey, Glenn, you want to just come here for the vote? Yeah. I know my camera just turned off. Okay, here we go.
There you go. All right, members, for discussion. So are there any objections, recusals, or abstentions?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Seeing none, the measure is adopted. Thank you, board members. Moving on to action item E3. It's an after the fact request to approve the final terms and authorize the execution of certain right of entry agreement with the Agribusiness Development Corporation and the Hawaii Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity and their agents and contractors for purposes of a construction base yard related to the ongoing modifications of the Wahiawa Dam and Spillway situated in Wahiawa, District of Wahiawa City and County of Honolulu, State of Hawaii, tax map key number 1-7-3-013-010. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Thank you, Board Member Hinazumi. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Board Member Hane. Is there a presentation, Lyle?
Yes, Chair, there is, and I'll be brief. This particular item is for the approval of the final terms of the right of entry agreement to the Hawaii Department of Agriculture and Biosecurity and their agents and contractors to access the property adjacent to the Wahiawa Dam and Spillway for the work. For the remediation work. The work on that dam is to widen the spillway to meet updated 100-year probable maximum flood predictions. And this is crucial. ADC has already provided preliminary access to the site to Department of Ag as a sister state agency pursuant to Governor Green's directives to expedite work on the dam and spillway following the two Kona low storms back in March and April, I think. So this has already been done initially. I think the board has delegated authority to the executive director to issue non-extraordinary rights of entry. But in retrospect, we staff and the executive director believe that this isn't so non-extraordinary. So we're approaching the board for approval of the right of entry.
All right, thank you, Lyle. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to give testimony? Seeing none, is there any board discussion? Seeing none, are there any objections, recusals, or abstentions? Seeing none, this measure is adopted. Thank you, board members. Moving on to agenda item E4, which is a request to approve the final terms and authorize the execution of that certain memorandum of understanding between the Agribusiness Development Corporation and the Hawaii Department of Law Enforcement to provide law enforcement patrols and security technologies for crime prevention at state-owned facilities and ag lands in the central Oahu area, District of Wahiawa, City and County of Honolulu, State of Hawaii. Tax map keys are various. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Thank you, Board Member. Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, thank you, Chair Hurd. Is there a presentation, Ken?
Ken is off the wait.
Okay.
She's gonna sit you. Okay. All right.
It's like Glenn's on a site visit. He's going to sit in every office before we adjourn today.
Thanks, musical chairs. Okay, so sorry, real quick. This is morning board members, morning members of the public. This is basically an agreement between the state of Hawaii, ADC, and the Department of Law Enforcement for some enforcement services that they're going to provide for us. So open for any questions.
Is there anyone from the public who wishes to give testimony?
No hands raised, Chair.
Is there any board discussion? I just have one question, Ken. So this is the one that's going to lapse, right? We got to get this out before June 30.
Correct.
Okay, and DLE is prepared to sign?
Yes, I think with this agreement, we'll be able to blanket encumber the funds and transfer JV the money over.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Members, is there any further board discussion? If not, are there any objections, recusals, or abstentions? I don't see board member Hong on here.
With Mark.
Oh, there it is. Mark Takimoto.
Change his name. Can you
Seeing
get
none,
the
measures, go ahead. Oh, sorry.
the agenda?
Oh, yes, yes. Sorry.
I'm so sorry.
Board Member Hong, we're voting on the E4 is regarding the DLE MOU.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Are there any objections, recusals, or abstentions? Seeing none, the measure is adopted. Moving on to agenda item E5 is a request to approve the final terms and authorize the execution of that certain memorandum of agreement between various Hawaii state government agencies to support the Food and Product Innovation Network. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Thank you, Board Member Hinazumi. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Chair Hurd. Is there a presentation, Ken?
Yeah, real quick. This is basically initiative by the legislature to try to break down the silos and get all of the agencies to help get this FPIN up and running. And I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Ken. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to give testimony?
No hands raised, Chair.
Seeing none, is there any board discussion? Seeing none, are there any objections, recusals, or abstentions? Seeing none, the measure is adopted. Thank you, members. Moving on to agenda item E6 is a discussion and action regarding the report and findings of the permitted interaction group established on December 18th, 2025 to evaluate the performance of the executive director on a semi-annual and annual basis. The report and findings of the permitted interaction group were presented to the board at their meeting on May 21, 2026. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Thank you, Board Member Wicker. Is there a second? Sorry, is there a second?
Second.
Oh, Board Member Kahane, thank you very much. Is there a presentation? Admin Committee Chair Hinazumi.
And yeah, Chair, I can take this. Again, what the PIG did was a mid-fiscal year evaluation for our executive director, Wendy. And at the time we presented at the last board meeting, it was basically just informational. Additional comments for Wendy to continue to address as we move towards the annual evaluation. So no recommended action except to address the comments.
Thank you, Board Member. Thank you, Chair Hinazumi. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to give testimony?
Seeing no hands raised, Chair.
Thank you. Is there any board discussion? Seeing none, are there any objections, recusals, or abstentions? Seeing none, the measure is adopted. Thank you, board members. Moving on to agenda item E7, discussion and action regarding the report and findings of the strategic planning permitted interaction group established on August 25th, 2025. The report and findings of the permitted interaction group were presented to the board at their meeting on May 21st, 2026. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion. Jesse.
Thank you, Jesse. Board Member Cook, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Board Member Okimoto. Presentation by myself. Okay, members, we presented quickly at the last board meeting on May 21st the findings of the PIG. The final draft is being created, so after today's vote, you will be receiving the entire strategic plan, and feel free to review that and offer your comments to Wendy. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to give testimony? Is there any board discussion? Seeing none, is there any objections, recusals, or abstentions? Thank you, members. Measure is adopted. It's a large document, so if you folks don't see it, please let us know. Moving on to agenda item E8, it's a request to approve the final terms and authorize the execution of that certain revocable permit issued to the Hawaii Farm Bureau for the purpose, Farm Bureau Federation, for the purpose of hosting the annual farm fair situated at Whitmore Village, District of Wahiawa, City and County of Honolulu, State of Hawaii, tax map key numbers 1-7-1-002-037 portion and 1-7-1-002-041 portion, 1-7-1-002-044 portion, and 1-7-0-001-005 portion. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Thank you, Board Member Wicker. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Chair Hurd. Is there a presentation, Ken?
Yeah, really quick. This is for the 60th annual farm fair, and the right of entry will begin, I think, the weekend of 4th of July weekend, right after. We're going to start staging and setting up. So we just want to issue the revocable permit to kind of help facilitate this event. So open for any questions.
Thanks, Ken. Just pray for no rain. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to give testimony?
Seeing no hands raised, Chair.
Is there any board discussion? Seeing none, are there any objections, recusals,
Sorry.
or
Chair Hurd.
Chair, one hand.
Chair Hurd, go ahead. Chair Hurd.
You're on mute, Chair Hurd.
You're right. Thank you. I believe this location, with heroic effort done by the Farm Bureau, was cleared and is now a great site for the farm fair. I'm just wondering if there's a way to secure a revocable permit for more than just this month, since it will be the site for the farm fair moving forward. I'm not sure what the process, but more than just a month, every month for 1 month. I mean, every year just for 1 month. Thank you.
Chair Hurd, you bring up a good point, and we've talked to Mark and Wendy about this, and not just the 1 month, but also longer term planning for infrastructure at the site for restrooms and all that. So that is something we are looking at in the budget. So hopefully we can get that done in the next year or so. Deputy Director Ricker, you have a comment or?
Oh, no, I did not. No.
Sorry, Vice Chair Yokohama.
I just had a quick question for you, Ken. There was major traffic jam, I think, last year, if I'm not mistaken. So I was kind of wondering if they're going to figure out how to try to mitigate that issue.
Yeah, so we are going to work with the Department of Transportation again to kind of pull out the bulletins. I think it was a perfect storm last year where there was a truck event, an unlicensed truck. It was a massive convoy of trucks that was in the area, and it was only for that one day. And we will open the alternative back road to kind of mitigate some of that traffic on Whitmore Avenue, as well as, like I said, working with the Department of Transportation to post bulletins and whatnot. But it is a concern, and that has been the community's major concern. But we are looking to address it.
Thank you, Board Member Yokohama. Vice Chair Yokohama. Is Board Member Wicker?
Yeah, just to add what Ken said. When it was at Kolo, you only have one thoroughfare for that, and that's the main Kamehameha Highway. Where this one we come off the main highway, but the traffic, yes, there was a truck cruise that pulled over and was holding burnouts, which backed up the traffic for a good portion of the day. Once that cleared, the traffic was fine.
Thank you, Deputy Director Wicker. Ken, I'll just ask to Chair Hurd's questions. Can you folks at some point start talking about that so you can share with the board some of the plans, the long-term plans for the site at some point in the near future?
Yes, absolutely. And we will consider that longer term agreement, Chair, both chairs, regarding the farm.
And then I think Mark did talk about a little bit about, some more long-term planning infrastructure requests too, so we can kind of get the board going on that too. That'd be helpful.
Okay, we'll do.
Thank you, Ken. All right. Any objections, recusals, or abstentions? If not, thank you, board members. The measures adopted. Moving on to agenda item E9 is a request to approve the final terms and authorize the execution of that certain right of entry agreement issued to Hawaiian Electric Company for power pole installation situated at Whitmore Village, District of Wahiawa, City and County of Honolulu, State of Hawaii, tax map key numbers 17-1-002-004 portion and 009 portion. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Thank you, Board Member Hinazumi. Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, is that Board Member Cook? Thank you very much. Is there a presentation, Ken?
Yeah, really quick. Just to give you some context, this is for the Central Oahu Food and Agriculture Hub up in Whitmore. This is the main infrastructure as far as power for the regional kitchen, as well as the on-site and off-site lights and what have you. Available for any questions.
Thank you, Ken. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to give testimony?
No hands raised.
Is there any board discussion? Seeing none, are there any objections, recusals, or abstentions? Seeing none, thank you, board members. Measures adopted. All right, final action item. Agenda item E10 is a request to approve the final terms and authorize the execution of that certain memorandum of agreement between the Agribusiness Development Corporation and the Office of Hawaiian Affairs regarding the use, operation, and maintenance of Office of Hawaiian Affairs water line at Whitmore Village, City and County of Honolulu, State of Hawaii, tax map key number 17-1-002-009 portion. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Thank you, Deputy Director Wicker. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Board Member Hinazumi. Is there a presentation, Ken?
Yeah, again, really quick, just a housekeeping measure. So we have the bot well out at the Galbert Agricultural Lands, and a portion of that water line traverses the OHA property, which we have a standpipe and a hydrant on their property. And this MOA basically allows us to operate and maintain that line that runs to the property. Available for any questions.
Thank you, Ken. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to give testimony?
Seeing no hands raised, Chair.
Is there any board discussion? Seeing none. Sorry, some kind of weird thing popped up by your name, Ken. I don't know, it's like a cloud or something. So, are there any objections, recusals, or abstentions? Seeing none, the measure is adopted. Thank you, board members.
Thank you.
We have one informational item. I know Wendy's out running around getting the document signed with DLNR and HDAP. So there is no report yet. So she will deliver that via email to all the board members. So we will be deferring informational item EF1, which is to discuss the Kauai LA and PMRF pump situation.
Chair.
Yes.
There was in the additional information that was presented this morning, there is a 3-page on the last 3 pages of the submittal package that was sent us, the supplemental information that was sent this morning. There should be a written report from Wendy.
Oh, okay. So
it's the last 3 pages of the package, so you'll have a lot of scrolling to do.
Okay, thanks, Dal. So board members, please feel free to review that, but there is no presentation. And with that, that takes us to the end of our agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Oh, wow, two. Board member Hinnis, thank you. There's a second.
Second.
Board member Wicker, thank you very much. Oh, board member Hong, you have your hand up?
Yes, thank you very much. Just a question. You indicated there might be one more board meeting before the end of the month.
There
Do you
will
know
be.
what that date will be?
I think Wendy mentioned we're looking at the 29th.
Okay. I depending on when it is, because I'll be out of town and I may be out of pocket.
Or the 30th. I think there's just some administrative cleanup on some items that might lapse, so they want to have one more meeting to close out anything that's outstanding.
Okay. So I likely may not make that. So I'd like to make just a final statement if this is my last meeting.
Sure. Please proceed.
First of all, thank you very much for everybody's dedication to the goals of ADC. I do want to express my appreciation for the staff, from the executive director down to everybody else on the staff. I think that they've done overall an incredible job. They put in tons of effort into this. We have at ADC a list of tasks, too many priorities for the resources that we have. And the fact that we have been able to move forward on a number of these issues is extremely commendable. I think that there are obviously a number of other issues that really remain, that are critical issues, that will take a lot of support, tremendous support on behalf of the board. From my perspective, the staff at ADC actually have an incredibly difficult task, because there are so many people that they need to satisfy and report to. And from a management perspective, you understand that multiple reporting requirements is very difficult to accomplish one's goals or the organization's goals. So whether it's the ledge, whether it's various departments, whether it's the board, members of the board, and everything else, I do just want to give my own personal shout out to Wendy, Mark, Ken, Lyle, everybody on the staff here that have supported the goals of to achieve what ADC is all about. So I'm appreciative of the opportunity to be, from my perspective, an independent voice. And I think some of you understand I have no agenda on any of that, and I wish everybody as much success as possible going forward if this is my last meeting. Thank you.
No, thank you, Board Member Hong. Maybe we'll make it on Friday if we can get you one more time. Thank you for your questions. I see Board Member Wicker, you have your hand up.
I just want to echo Board Member Hong and thanking the staff. Over these last few years, the projects that the staff, I'm gonna miss some names there, but Mark, Lyle, Ken, what they're doing is really bringing solutions forward to what the farmers and ranchers have been asking for decades. Not easy projects. Understand the liabilities that's going to come with it, but the state through ADC is reducing the risk or taking on that on. And I think the farmers in the next 4 years, 8 years, we're going to see what that means for food security and what that means for our economy. So thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Director Wicker. I would just like to add onto that, Board Member Hong's comment about there's so many people to answer to. It is a very difficult situation. And if you recall, if you look at the auditor's report, that was identified as a critical problem with how ADC was designed. And to Board Member Trump's, concerns about the board involvement and decision making, I think that us coming up with a strategic plan this year is very critical to helping to address that. Us providing a document like that Board Member Hong has been a part of, to provide to the legislature, to provide them with our kind of vision or ideas as to what should be happening in the agribusiness area, will help to align some of those legislative requests so that everything's in sync. I think prior to that, there was really none of that. And so a lot of decisions are being made in other places and just using us kind of as a place where these projects just get kind of dumped on. But now that this document is being produced, board members, after you folks review it, it will go to some key legislators for them to review it. So we can make sure we get that kind of alignment in there. But going forward, I think, to Board Member Hong's point and to Board Member Trump's point, we can address those concerns. So I thank everybody for your patience as we get this thing done. Any further discussion, board members? If not, the motion on the table is to adjourn. Are there any objections, abstentions, or recusals? Seeing none, thank you for your time.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.